Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Pre-orders are now available for War of the Spark and Modern Horizons booster boxes. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to day 3 of official War of the Spark previews. We have a number of cards to look at. As always, if you're curious about the source of the cards, just check out the description below. All the information will be there. Without any further ado, let's go. We got to look at a couple tokens today. Zombie token, wolf token, nothing crazy here. You kind of expected these most likely at this point, but yes, here's what they're going to look like. Now, we talked about this card yesterday, but it was the promo version that we saw. This is the regular version of Karn's Bastion. Just wanted to show it to you real quick. Fblthp the Lost, and yes, he has a card. I'm really excited to see this. And the card is not bad, actually. When you first glance at it, a 1/1 for 2 doesn't sound all that amazing. But when you look at this ability, first, if you just play the card, he enters the battlefield, draw a card. Yeah, okay, the card replaces itself and I get a little board presence. I always want to move through my deck quickly in draft or sealed. Any card that's going to give me something and card draw attached to it, I'm going to be interested in. And there could be some ways for me to return this to my library throughout the game, because whenever this actually becomes a target of a spell, it doesn't have to be from your opponent, but from anybody, you get to shuffle it back into your deck. So if this gets played a couple times over the course of the game, eventually that could garner some nice advantage. Aside from that, though, there's other interesting things you can do with it, because notice if it enters the battlefield from your library directly, or if it was cast from your library, draw 2 cards instead. Well, there's a lot of different ways in Magic to do that. A few that come to mind just off the top of my head: Proteus Staff, Experimental Frenzy, that's in Standard, Bolas' Citadel, that's going to be in Standard, Collected Company, Court of Calling, Tooth and Nail, the list goes on and on. Now, I don't think it's going to go into Modern and blow the doors off the format or anything, but it might see a tad bit of play there, and you know people are going to want to make this their commander, right? It is legendary. Really sweet card here. Alright, speak of the devil. So yes, Totally Lost is back. This is a reprint. This has some incredible art on it, though. I love the art on this card. Fantastic. The card itself is a nice little tempo play in draft or sealed, but that's not the real story here. Just look at that. Eternal Taskmaster. Now, this one to me is probably more of a limited card for draft or sealed, but it's a really good one. It's a tad slow, I think, for Standard. I mean, it's on the cusp, and you never know if a zombie deck can get there, and maybe it can squeak by. But it does cost 2, comes into play tapped. You are getting 2/3 for it, though. The ability, it has to attack, but then if you pay a black and 2, you get to return a target creature from your graveyard to your hands. That is not bad. This could be a relatively high pick uncommon for me in a draft pack, no doubt. Our next card is a German language preview. It's Dreadhorde Arcanist, and this is actually pretty sweet as well. Again, you kind of look at the stats here at first and you're like, okay, it seems fine. 1/3 for 2, but look deeper. There's a lot going on here. First, it is a zombie wizard. Those are very relevant creature types. Next, it has Trample. Kind of odd for a 1/3 creature, but that's kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Pay attention. If you can get it bigger, it gets better. But here's what I like about the card. I don't think it needs to get bigger to be powerful. It just depends on what you're doing with it. Let's talk about Modern for just a moment. It wasn't long ago that Electro Dominance came out and we started thinking about how that card could interact with Suspend cards. Well, since then, there is a deck that runs Electro Dominance and Living End. What if we tested a card like this in a Modern deck with Suspend? Would it push that deck a little bit harder? Perhaps. It's hard to say without sitting down and trying it out, but I do think there's some potential here. Aside from that, though, there's also a lot of cheap burn spells in that format, like Lightning Bolt. You could just get some extra value by putting this down for 2, attacking in. Even if it gets blocked and destroyed, you get a free Lightning Bolt out of the deal on top of everything else. If you can keep the pressure on in a burn deck with something like this, who knows? Something worth exploring, if nothing else. Oddly enough, I don't know how consistent this is going to be in environments that have bigger spells, like Draft or Sealed, or even Standard, just simply because I don't know if you're going to have as many targets for this thing, and it might not always work out. Sure, you could pump it if you found a consistent way to do that, but then you are starting to string a lot of variables together, so maybe it wouldn't be that great in Standard if you're relying on it being big before you can do anything at all. Overall, though, another really cool card. Grim Initiate. I really like this one, too. This is a very solid 1-drop. I was saying a few months back, they don't ever give us any good 1-drops for Sealed or Draft. Now, this is a really good one, and they have been giving us a lot better ones recently. This one I think is good enough to potentially see some Standard play even. 1/1 for 1 with First Strike, so you get a bonus ability there. And when it dies, you get to amass 1, which means you're going to get a 1/1 token out of it even if you have nothing else. Or if you have a zombie army token already, then it gets +1/+1 bigger. You know, that's really not bad considering you only paid 1 for this thing, and it's a zombie. Zombie Tribal might actually be a thing in Standard. We're seeing a lot of cards in the set that support zombies, and there's actually already a number of cards out there in Standard. That deck actually made a push early on last season, but didn't quite get there. It's getting a lot of tools, so we'll have to pay attention to it this season. Beyond that, I think this could be an efficient card in something like Mardu Aristocrats perhaps too. Also, Pauper players, pay attention to this one. You might want to try it out as well. Neheb Dreadhorde Champion. Another really good red card. Man, red just feels like it has an embarrassment of riches, especially like at the 4 spot. If anything holds some of these cards back, it's just simply because there's too many 4 drops and people have to decide between them. This is one I would be happy to play in an aggressive build. Maybe it's mono red aggro, maybe Rakdos aggro, but I could see myself throwing this down on turn 4. I got a 5/4 trample creature, and then I can attack in, and all of a sudden I get to start dumping any cards that are not helpful. Like if I draw into too many lands, I just hold on to them and I exchange them for other cards, and I get mana while I'm doing it. Yeah, I think this does see Standard play. Obviously, this will be a limited bomb for you too. Mowu Loyal Companion. Yup, the dog even got a card. This is a big day for cards that I've wanted to see for a long time. This is kind of awesome. So this one is actually really good too. A 3/3 Trample Vigilance creature for 4. And if it's ever going to get +1/+1 counters, it just gets an additional 1 on top of it. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. So where do you use something like this? It might be a long shot, but I still think Simic Ascendancy has a shot in Standard if it gets enough support from this set. And this is definitely a step in that direction. This is another really solid limited creature for you too, especially if you have some ways to put some +1/+1 counters on it. And you know, again, there's going to be commander players that are going to make this their commander, no doubt, just because. Dreadhorde Butcher, another solid card. We don't have as many today as we had other days, but there are some really good things here. This would be perfect in a Rakdos aggro build. Sure, it costs 2 different colors, but I think this environment has the mana base to do it. It's also a zombie warrior, worth noting too. But here's what I like about this card. Get it down on turn 2, haste, attack right in for 1. If you can get that damage across, now you got a 2/2. And if you can get by even one more time, this becomes a 3/3. It just gets really hard to deal with. Your opponent has to kind of stay ahead of it. And then finally, if it dies, maybe you just keep tossing it into combat. It's going to do direct damage. It's just more pressure. And if someone uses an exile spell on this thing, you only paid 2 for it. And maybe even got some damage across too. This could really push Rakdos aggro, which kind of struggled last season. Rakdos midrange sometimes did okay. The aggro decks weren't doing as well compared to, say, mono red aggro. This could change that. It is also possible, if you're running a Jund aggro build, to win with this card on turn 3 if you get really lucky. You would need a Collision Colossus, Thud, and the right mana, plus your opponent would need to not have a blocker. But it could happen. Another place to try this out is Mardu Aristocrats. It could be good there too. Gleaming Overseer. Okay, this card is just nuts for 3. First off, Zombie Wizard. Again, another good combination of creature types. 3 casting cost, 1/4 amass 1, so you're getting 2/5 power toughness on the battlefield when you play this for 3 mana, mind you. Oh wait, there's more. Zombie tokens you control have Hexproof and Menace. So that token you just made, Hexproof and Menace. Or maybe you already have a zombie army, it gets bigger. Now that has Hexproof and Menace. That is key. If you're going to play draft and try to build around a mass, you're going to want a copy or 2 of this in your deck. It's going to protect that token, which is going to be important for that strategy. And it's going to allow it to hit easier with the Menace. And that's pretty awesome for just 3 mana. I can't say that enough. Just 3 mana. What about Standard? Well, I said it earlier. Zombies are being pushed pretty hard. If there is a Standard zombie deck and it's focused a little more on tokens as opposed to just your regular zombies, this could definitely see some Standard play. There's a lot of power behind this card for what you're paying for it. Outside of the competitive formats, though, just think about kitchen table Magic. People love to play Zombie Tribal with zombie tokens. This card is going to be awesome for your casual players. It's going to be good in Commander if you happen to use a lot of zombie tokens. This is a great uncommon. Alright, with that being said, that is what we got for today. We're going to be back again tomorrow. We're going to keep recapping and analyzing these cards. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon and have a great day.